Turning bedtime into a worry meeting. Many women over 55 turn off the lights, lie down, and then immediately turn on the mental projector. Every unfinished task, every conversation from 10 years ago, every what if suddenly becomes urgent at exactly the time when the brain is supposed to be powering down. It feels productive because you are thinking things through. In reality, you are just scheduling your daily stress meeting in the one place where it does the most damage, your bed. When you replay worries in bed, your brain activates the body's stress response. That response uses hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These are the same chemicals your body would use if you were being chased. They raise your heart rate, tense your muscles, and keep your brain on high alert. That is wonderful if you are escaping danger. It is terrible if you are staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m, wondering why you are still awake. With age, and especially after menopause, sleep becomes more sensitive to stress signals. Lower levels of estrogen and progesterone mean less natural support for calm mood and stable sleep. The nervous system becomes easier to trigger and slower to settle back down. So the same level of worry that you handled at 30 without losing sleep now keeps you awake for hours at 60. The habit has not changed. Your biology has. The hidden part of this habit is timing. Most women over 55 are busy all day. Work, family, caring for parents, grandchildren, health appointments, household tasks. During the day, distraction covers over a lot of worry. At night, you finally stop moving. The brain notices the silence and decides very helpfully that now is the perfect time to process every unresolved problem in your life. Because the bed gets repeatedly paired with overthinking, your brain slowly learns a new rule. When I lie in this bed, I must stay alert and think. Over time, the bed becomes a cue for mental activity instead of a cue for sleep. You can feel exhausted before lying down and then suddenly feel wide awake as soon as your head hits the pillow, simply because the habit has rewired that association. Ignoring evening light exposure. One of the most common hidden habits that steals deep sleep after age 55 is spending the evening surrounded by bright indoor light. Most people blame stress, hormones, or age, but overlook the fact that the human brain still reacts to light the same way it did thousands of years ago. When the eyes detect strong light after sunset, the brain assumes it is daytime and delays the release of melatonin, the hormone that signals the body that sleep should begin. This delay does not feel dramatic in the moment. You simply feel not tired yet, but internally, your sleep timing has been pushed back. After menopause, this effect is even more noticeable. Changes in hormone levels make the internal clock more fragile and easier to disrupt. A younger person might get away with bright evening light and still fall asleep, but a woman over 55 can lose the entire first cycle of deep sleep just from overstimulation in the 2 hours before bed. Deep sleep is the phase responsible for cellular repair, memory consolidation, and physical recovery. When that phase is delayed, the rest of the night becomes lighter and less restorative, even if the total hours asleep look normal. The main culprit is not just screens, ceiling lights, kitchen lights, bathroom lights, and even bright hallway bulbs all send the same message to your brain: stay awake. This is why you might feel fully alert at 10 at night, but strangely exhausted the next morning. You did sleep, but the quality was downgraded because your body never received a clear signal to start its nighttime mode. Another hidden issue is inconsistency. Many women alternate between bright evenings on some nights and dimmer, calmer evenings on others. The sleep system relies on predictability. When the timing of light exposure keeps changing, the internal clock keeps shifting too, which breaks the rhythm that deep sleep depends on. Even a short burst of bright light late at night can shift the internal clock by hours, which is why a single evening of late cleaning, late phone scrolling, or late television can interfere with sleep for several nights in a row. This habit usually goes unnoticed because bright light is normal, convenient, and everywhere. But for someone over 55, it silently reduces the depth of sleep, weakens the nighttime repair process, and makes the next day feel heavier than it should. Staying too still during the day. A hidden habit that quietly destroys deep sleep in women over 55 is spending long stretches of the day sitting, standing in one place, or moving only in short bursts. It does not feel like a sleep problem because nothing bad happens in the moment, but inactivity disrupts several systems that directly control the depth and stability of nighttime sleep. Deep sleep depends on homeostatic pressure, which is the body's internal need for sleep that builds up the longer you stay awake and physically active. When movement is low, this pressure stays weak. It becomes much easier to fall asleep lightly, wake up often, or miss the early deep sleep cycles entirely. Many women think, but I am tired all day, so why am I not sleeping deeply? Fatigue from stress is not the same as sleep pressure. The brain needs physical movement to generate that pressure properly. After age 55, muscle mass naturally decreases. This makes movement even more essential. Small activities that once required effort no longer provide the same biological signal to the sleep system. A quick walk that used to refresh your body now barely registers. Without enough physical load, the body does not build a strong need for deep sleep. As a result, the night is spent floating through lighter phases, which leaves you unrefreshed in the morning. Another issue is circulation. Long periods of stillness, slow blood flow, especially in the legs. Poor circulation means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach your muscles during the day. The consequence is a sensation of tired but wired at night. Your body feels drained, but your system has not built the physiological pressure that triggers deep sleep. This mismatch becomes more common with age because circulation naturally becomes less efficient. The habit becomes hidden because it blends into normal routines. Sitting at a desk, resting after chores, long car rides, extended phone use, reading, or watching television in the evening all create long windows of low movement. None of these activities feel harmful, but the cumulative effect is a body that never ramps up properly during the day and therefore never powers down properly at night. Even very light movement spaced throughout the day changes this pattern. The goal is not intense exercise. It is simply breaking the cycle of stillness so your brain registers that you lived a full day and therefore should enter deep recovery mode at night. Eating healthy evening snacks that are actually sleep disruptors. A hidden habit that quietly damages deep sleep in women over 55 is eating certain foods in the late evening that seem harmless or even healthy, but trigger biological responses that make sleep shallower, lighter, and more fragmented. The issue is not the quantity of food. It is the way specific ingredients interact with an older digestive system and a more sensitive nighttime metabolism. After age 55, digestion naturally slows down. Stomach acid production changes, abdominal muscles weaken, and the gut moves food through more slowly. A snack that caused no issues at age 30 now lingers much longer in the digestive tract. This forces the body to stay partially in daytime mode when it should be shifting into deep recovery mode. The brain cannot enter deep sleep while the digestive system is still working at full speed, because both systems share regulatory pathways. When one stays active, the other stays lighter. Foods high in hidden sugars, artificial sweeteners, or refined carbohydrates create another problem. Late-night blood sugar spikes. These spikes cause a short burst of energy followed by a sharp drop several hours later. That drop triggers cortisol, the stress hormone, which wakes you up abruptly between 1 and 3 in the morning. Many women assume the wake-ups are hormonal or stress-related, when the real culprit is a blood sugar crash caused by something they ate hours earlier. Even foods considered healthy can interfere with sleep. Fruit, yogurt, granola, protein bars, and whole grain crackers all seem harmless. But fruit contains fast sugars, yogurt can raise insulin, granola often contains syrups, and whole grains still stimulate nighttime digestion. Protein bars are one of the worst offenders because they often contain artificial sweeteners. Those sweeteners disrupt gut bacteria, which signals the brain to stay alert rather than drift into deep sleep. Anything acidic, like tomatoes, citrus, or vinegar-based snacks, increases the risk of nighttime reflux. Reflux does not always feel like burning pain. It can show up as a subtle throat tightness, a cough, a sense of needing to swallow, or micro-arousals that repeatedly pull the brain out of deep sleep without waking you fully. These interruptions accumulate and steal the restorative phases of the night. This habit stays hidden because the connection between what I ate at 8 and why I woke up at 2 is not obvious. The digestive system works quietly, and most people never link their nighttime interruptions to their evening snacks. But for women over 55, the sensitivity is much higher, and even small dietary choices can shift the entire architecture of sleep. Treating the bedroom like a second living room. A final hidden habit that quietly dismantles deep sleep in women over 55 is turning the bedroom into a multi-use space instead of a dedicated sleep environment. The brain forms strong associations through repetition. When the bedroom is consistently used for activities that keep the mind alert, such as television, reading news on the phone, sorting laundry, planning the next day, or even having long conversations, the brain stops recognizing the room as a signal for sleep. Instead, it treats it like a general-purpose workspace where anything might happen except deep rest. This association becomes more powerful with age because the sleep system becomes more dependent on environmental cues. Younger adults can often fall asleep anywhere, but after 55, the brain relies more heavily on routine, predictability, and context to trigger the transition into deep sleep. If the bedroom has been repeatedly paired with alertness, stimulation, or problem-solving, the body enters the room already prepared to stay awake. This leads to long sleep onset delays and lighter sleep throughout the night. Television is one of the biggest disruptors. It is not just the light exposure, which already delays melatonin, but the constant emotional stimulation. News, dramas, talk shows, and even seemingly harmless documentaries keep the brain processing. When this happens in the bedroom, the mind does not fully power down, even after the screen is off. Over time, this weakens the brain's instinctive transition into sleep when entering the room. Another hidden factor is clutter. Visual disorder activates the same neural circuits used for monitoring and scanning the environment. Even if you do not feel stressed by it, your brain is still doing background processing, which keeps sleep shallower. A messy bedroom tells the nervous system there is still work to do, and deep sleep gets replaced with lighter stages. The biggest issue is predictability. If the bedroom's purpose keeps shifting throughout the day, the brain cannot settle into a consistent nighttime mode. This is especially problematic for women over 55, whose sleep architecture is more fragile and more easily disrupted by mixed environmental signals. When the bedroom becomes a place where the brain is trained to stay alert, deep sleep becomes optional, and the brain will always choose alertness over rest if the environment suggests that staying awake is the safer choice. There's a great video on the screen now. Don't miss it, okay?